Hello my beautiful people. So something a little different for you this time. You guys are used to seeing me read the tarot for you. You are used to me talking about numerology. It's time for some astrology. We are stepping into eclipse season, and yes, you will see the whole internet and all of YouTube is awash and abuzz with all of the with all about this stuff. I've got my trusty notes here. The reason I'm doing these solar eclipse specials, and we'll be doing all of the eclipse specials, is because not only is it a different energy, I mean, we've had a little dip into it, but this is where it gets real. This is where it gets, intense, and where it gets serious. And because we're switched from the Leo Aquarius axis, which, trust me, I felt because I am a Leo rising and an Aquarius sun. So I really felt those ones, and actually I can now, looking back on it, really see the benefit of it. At the time it felt like absolute fucking shite, if I'm completely honest with you, because I felt like a ping pong ball in the middle of a storm out at sea. That's just the truth of it. You know, there were moments that were really great that I could see the benefit of, but there were some moments that I was like, do you know what, I don't know how this is going to serve my greater good, but in hindsight, I can see how it worked. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about before we go into the video itself, right? And I've got, my trusty notes here, because as many of you know, astrology, tarot I can do with my eyes closed, right? In fact, I probably could do it with my eyes closed, even though it's all about the symbols, right? But just from the feeling, I would be able to do that. Whereas astrology is such a bigger and broader subject, and I don't have nearly as many years under my belt in that field as I do with the tarot, with the cards and the symbols there. So I always have notes because I'm just not as practiced. I call myself a baby astrologer. A lot of people say, I think you're being too harsh on yourself, but whatever, it's not about that. So with that said, before we go into your personal, horoscope, eclipse scope, tarot scope, whatever you want to call it, right? Yes, there will be tarot. Come on, that's what I do, right? There's a few things that I want to clarify on. So you see this, I've drawn it out, and yes, it looks pretty, and it looks mysterious, and it's got the symbols on the wheel and all the rest of it, and we're all familiar with what a chart looks like. Well, 90% of people nowadays are familiar with what a chart looks like. The problem that this chart creates is that people tend to see this kind of thing, especially a big event like an eclipse, as just a flash in the pan. They kind of see it like a static moment. And while it is true that the specific moment of the eclipse will imprint your life with a specific type of energy, right? And that's really important to remember. So when you read somebody's birth chart, when you look at somebody's personal astrology, when you see a personal one of these for somebody, what you're actually looking at is a specific moment in time that is imprinted into their DNA, right? There's, all of the stars aligned in a certain way to give you a certain energy that was going to unfold. Astrology breathes, it moves. Human beings are not, we're multifaceted. We move, we breathe, we grow, we change, we evolve. Just like the moon, we are cyclic. We go through great, awesome periods, and we go through low, sort of not so awesome periods. And that's one of the things that you really need to understand. This isn't just an event that will happen on this day and then you can forget about it. It's kind of like a toolbox. Imagine it's like a gift that the universe gives you on a specific day and says, right, here you go, I'm going to give you this, and you get to unpack that over the next 3 to 6 months. It's never just a flash in the pan moment, and this is why people talk about the eclipses so much, and why people often say, well, this will happen, over the next 3 to 6 months, and sometimes even further beyond. Like I said, I can see a lot of the stuff that I'm doing and living and experiencing now in relation to the eclipses that we finished up in Aquarius and Leo. So it's really relevant stuff, but you need to understand it's a process, not an event, right? It's an unfolding of energy that is imprinted into you on the specific day. So pay attention to that day, because it may well have elements of what this energy is going to be like for you over the next 6 months, what it might unfold, how it might grow. But don't let this video, don't let me, don't let anybody ever reduce you or your infinite beingness down to just a specific set of events that are all about your, oh well, your second house is your money. Yes, it does represent that, and it's good to know that. And it's great to see, if we can predict these things accurately, which is wonderful. But don't let anything, any system in the world, astrology, tarot, numerology, don't let me, any other reader, whether tarot reader, astrologer, whatever, don't let anyone or anything reduce you down to those separate sort of compartments. You are a multifaceted being. And it is good for you to, so there's the dualism, bad Rafi. And you are a multifaceted being, and it's important that you allow yourself to be all of that and to grow throughout these processes that take place, right? Don't ever limit yourself to anything that anyone tells you. You always get a chance to choose. Now, before I go off on a complete tangent, I will give you some overviews. So, solar eclipse is an initiatory energy. It's a beginning of some sort, because it's kind of like a supercharged or jacked up new moon that's like, yeah! It's got lots of energy behind it. And when you get a new moon, you've got the sun and the moon together, right? That in itself is the god and the goddess coming together in creation. Now, this one is taking place in Cancer, which is really important for loads of reasons. So the whole axis of Cancer and Capricorn are going to be lit up. Cancer represents the mother, in the fourth house, protection, love, nurturing, nourishment, that place that you go to seek shelter, to seek comfort, or even lock yourself away from the harsh realities of the outside world. It's your feelings, it's your attachments, it's your bonds, right? Whereas Capricorn, and the Cancer is the natural house of the moon as well, so it's really worth keeping an eye on that. And it represents the mother, because it comes in the guise of the fourth house. Whereas Capricorn, where we've got quite a lot going on in the opposite sign, and this is where the eclipses are going to bounce between, right, is the 10th house. This is the external structure, the things out in the world, but it's also the father. It's where we meet authority, it's where we meet governance, it's where we meet the things that we appear to not be able to change. It's where, the 10th house is your career, how you show up out in the world, how you are presented or received by the wider world. So these are really big things to look at, right? And because it's the father, it's the line in the sand that you meet, where you will go no further, where you meet authority, where you get that kind of, no, you will not pass, you cannot do this. And it's not always about the negative stuff. Sometimes it's to hold you back from something or to teach you a lesson, right? So when you see that mother-father axis, that's kind of what's going on there. So it's really important to pay attention to that stuff. What I've talked about, it's a process. Good to look at where this is happening. Right, so try and stay with me on this, and I'm using myself as an example so that you can do this for yourself, right? So look at where the eclipse is taking place, and then think about where that happens according to your sun, moon, and ascendant. So my moon sign, I'll start there, is in Cancer. So this suggests that my inner world, possibly even my home, may change over the next 3 to 6 months. Something about my emotional inner world, or even my home, my dwelling, may very well change because it's happened, or the identity of my home, or something of that nature may very well change, right? As a Leo ascendant, this is happening in my 12th house. My 12th house is all to do with the past, the things that are hidden, that are private, subconscious drives and not necessarily desires and urges, but it can also be hidden enemies. It could be people that don't necessarily, present themselves as one thing, but don't necessarily mean you good. Then finally, as an Aquarius, this is happening in my 6th house, which is all to do with my work. So something to do with my old work, my old workplace, my old work life could be coming through. So those are my big three, sun, moon, and ascendant, right? It's good for you to find out where they are, because it's going to give you that kind of different dynamic of understanding, so that you get an idea of where this is happening, why, not why it's happening, you know why, because of the astrology, how it's likely to unfold, and what that could possibly mean for you. So one of the things that I've put here is it could suggest that things are about to take a big leap forward over the 6 months because of services rendered, right? So the 12th house is the past, and the 6th house is work. So it could be some efforts that I've already sown in my own personal past over the last 6 months may now start to yield results or dividends or rewards, you know, depending on what I've put out there. And I'm currently crossing fingers, toes and bits at the moment, like thinking back like, shit, have I done enough? Hopefully I have. You know, I've done my best to be of complete service to you guys in and of the world. So with that said, let's get to the personal astrology for each sign. Take care. See you in a moment. Cancer, welcome to your solar eclipse special with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. Thank you for being here. So let's go straight into it. This eclipse is happening in your sign. So especially if you're an ascendant Cancer, this will be really relevant for you. But for all of you, sun, moon and rising, over the next 3 to 6 months, this is going to unpack for all of you. So with that said, this sees you really shifting and changing gears in who you are. When you talk about anything that happens in your sign or in the first house, this talks about changing aspects of who you are, how you present yourself and how you do day-to-day life. Now, the thing is, over the next 3 to 6 months, it could see you really recreating yourself, right? How you present yourself. It could see something about your identity really starting to shift, really starting to become something else. And this can be a lot of fun, right? When you get to change who you are, how you present yourself, how you look, it can really give you sort of free rein to start enjoying the expression of who you are, of tapping into that energy. And over the next 3 to 6 months, over in like some really fun and dynamic ways, and also through sort of, because you know, Cancer is the sign that this is happening, through self-love, self-care, through nurturing and nourishment. Through really getting to know yourself, you can present all of the best aspects of who you truly are, to really allow each and every facet of who you are to come together to create a brand new being. And that is really, really exciting. All right, so it will also see you reaching for and to achieve in life start to shift, as well as decisions you make about reaching your chosen destination, which is beautiful, right? Because so your ascendant sign is how you achieve the goal in your life, or your life mission, which is your sun sign. So the path that you take towards your overall expression of who you are and what your life means is about to go through a shift and a change. And this is going to, for me, I believe this is going to happen in a fun and dynamic way. And then I put, as this is sextile to Uranus, it also sees you aligning with new people. This is where the group, where the tribe, where the people that really get and celebrate you. And even if they don't get you, they will be part of your tribe and they will celebrate you and say, you know what? He or she is mad as a hatter, or he or she is totally different, or I don't really understand how they do it, but I love them anyway. That is tribe. That is people that love and care about you. When someone can say, you know what, I don't necessarily get it, but that's them, and you know what, I love them, so therefore it doesn't faze me. Obviously, providing you're not, you know, Charles Manson. You know, a lot of people are out there right now. I literally just heard the sharp intake of breath, but you know, it was a joke, people. With that said, yeah, you know, your people, those who really get you, it can also see your long-term goals and aspirations, the things that you really want to achieve on a broader scale in your life, getting a boost of fresh air, right? Because Uranus here in your 11th house is giving you a it's giving you new understandings. It can be sudden flashes or ideas of inspiration that come out of the blue, right? Pay attention to that stuff, because this could really see you know, it could really see all of your longer term goals and aspirations getting that sort of buzz or, you know, burst of energy to come through. So if there is something you've put on the back burner, or you think, oh, you know what, I've tried so hard with that and it just doesn't seem to be shaping up or evolving the way that I would want it to, This could be the month where you see that, the months ahead rather, could be where you really see this start to expand and evolve for you in a really fun way. And it could see it being fast tracked as well. So then you've got now in the opposition to the eclipse, you have Saturn and the South Node in Capricorn, right, which is in your 7th house, especially if you're an ascendant. Excuse me, my allergies are killing me right now. My eyes actually, I will not stop itching. My nose is just driving me mad. All part of the run up to the eclipse, I'm sure. With that said, this Saturn and the South Node conjunction in the opposite sign of Capricorn in your 7th house is your relationships, right? And this for me is an interesting one for you because Saturn is about mastery. And this suggests that you have already gone through enough of a process to really ask yourself, what do I want from a relationship? What do I want from a partner? If you're in a relationship, you will have gone through a lot of tests. If you are single, you will have gone through a lot of personal understandings of what relationships are, what they mean to you, how they should be, what you expect from other people is coming under fire, right? And you're releasing the old patterns because the South Node is a release point. It's what you let go of. And because Saturn's there, this is about you releasing something for good. This is about letting go of an old hurt when it comes to relationships, an old viewpoint when it comes to relationships. Because it's an opposition, and the thing we need to remember about oppositions is they are uncomfortable energies because it's like a partnership is vying for your attention, but so is yourself, right? So this aspect of self and other is the axis that this is happening on. And it's like your relationships or the need or want or desire for one is really being looked at through the 1st house as well, because the eclipse is saying, well, you are changing, you are shifting, what you want and how you get to what you want is starting to change. So the Capricornian aspect of it in the 7th house is saying, well, yeah, but your relationships and what you want from them and what you expect from them now has to also be different because you are different. So you've got this kind of sort of, seesaw thing going on. It's a really interesting energy, but it's also a great one. Can see you, it does suggest that as you are shifting and changing, your connections and what you expect from them will also be changing. So I've already said that. It could see you being very selective from now on with an air of, if it doesn't serve the longer term, then I'm not entertaining it. So especially for those of you that are, sort of, let's say 25 and above, you will be a lot more selective about the partners that you welcome in now, about the people that you kind of entertain or the connections that you entertain. Even, this could even be in terms of work as well, because you're saying, look, I want and need something more substantial and more serious now. And with the eclipse coming in, this is about my outlook changing. I need someone or something to reflect that back at me. And then you've got Jupiter in his own sign in your 9th house, I believe it is. No, in your 6th house. And then you've got Neptune, which is in your 6th house. So this is a really interesting one because when you get a square, it's an uncomfortable energy. It's an energy that makes you uncomfortable enough to make a conscious change. It's when you say, look, I don't want that. I've had enough of it. So because this is happening, it's expanding your service in the world and also making you work for opportunities. And it may have actually, it may have been a bit stressful and could see you like putting in a lot of effort and not really getting some of the results, or maybe the results that you do get are not exactly what you expected. With that said, it does suggest that your work life and your belief systems are also going through a big shift and they're challenging each other. So here in your 6th house in Jupiter in Sagittarius, this is the philosophy, the higher wisdom, the different understanding, like the outlook when it comes to things that are completely different to you, is where you find a lot of power, and that's where you do your service to other people that are out there in the world, to people that are of different places, different backgrounds, different cultures. You will find this stuff really exciting for you, and because it's in your 6th house, this suggests that that's where your work is done. So a lot of international work could start to be done for you now over the next 3 to 6 months. It could see you reaching out to those kind of people. But it also sees that square in Neptune in your 9th house, which is about travel, right? And it's interesting the dynamic that's happening there, because the 9th house is the natural house of Sagittarius, right? Which is where you've currently got Jupiter, and you know it's kind of having that effect there. So it sees Neptune trying to show you a higher octave of being of service to others and a way to transcend the humdrum. These are all of my trusty notes that I've written. And I really like that, because it does suggest that there's something here that makes you say, look, I don't know if I'm going to be as much of service to the people that I want to help if I'm stuck in the place that I am. So this could see not necessarily your living situation, excuse me, but it could not necessarily your living situation, but it could see you being away from home or working a lot more with people from foreign cultures, from other places, or even having to travel more for work. And so this is squaring this idea, because maybe there's a part of you that's like, well, you know, I'd like to help my own community, but maybe you're being asked to do something broader and bigger than that. And also, yeah, if what you're doing for work isn't truly aligned with who you are and what you want to do, or where you envision your life path to go, you could be asking yourself this, you know, this next 3 to 6 months, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Because it doesn't feel in alignment. It doesn't feel like a true expression of who I actually am. And then it says it will also see your idea of what being of service means to you and how that idea may shift. Ultimately, it's taking you to a higher perspective on how to do so and remain within your own boundaries while keeping others in theirs. Love that, because it suggests that you're keeping, you know, it's almost like being true to yourself, but also making sure that others get to do that as well, as part of what's going on here. It also, 6th house, Jupiter and Sagittarius have that religious aspect of it, and it could see belief systems and structures around work of some kind really dusting up with your 9th house of, how those things affect other people in the world. It could see you reaching out to people that have had negative experiences with religion or because of religion, and helping them come to a new viewpoint or a new understanding. Because it's a square, it will make you uncomfortable in the sense that some of this might trigger you personally. So it's really interesting that this stuff is coming up. You know, take a look at that. What are your beliefs? What are your beliefs around service? Because a lot of people, when you say service to them, they kind of envision a butler or a maid. That's not the case. It's not there. It's way deeper than that. Right, which is why I've always said to work in any form of service, whether it's sandwiches or therapy, it takes dignity and courage and bravery and self-respect to serve other people and to do it well. So with that said, let's have a look at your card for the eclipse. You get the Death card, transformation, change, evolution, the letting go of the old self and the beginning of the new one. And if you look at this card, the Death card, you see there, the angel of death is cradling a baby. In the ending and the perishing of who you were is where you truly find the birth of all that you can be. The Death card also represents Scorpio, Phoenix from the ashes. Let me know in the comments section how it goes. Take care, and I'll see you very soon.